216 BCE, one of the most powerful armies in the ancient world marched onto a battlefield in southern Italy. By sunset, that army no longer existed. Nearly 70,000 Roman soldiers had been surrounded and destroyed at the Battle of Cannae by the brilliant Carthaginian general Hannibal. To understand the scale of this disaster, imagine if a modern superpower like the United States suddenly lost several entire military divisions in a single afternoon. Many people at the time believed Rome would collapse after this defeat. But something extraordinary happened. Rome did not surrender after its greatest defeat. In this video, we will explore how Rome rebuilt its armies, reformed its military system, and fought the wars that transformed a small Italian city into one of the most powerful empires in history. Rome's story begins long before the famous battles against Carthage. According to Roman tradition, the city was founded in 753 BCE along the banks of the Tiber River in central Italy. At that time, Rome was not an empire. It was simply one small settlement among many competing communities. The Italian peninsula was full of rival powers. To the north lived the Etruscans, a civilization known for advanced engineering and urban planning. To the south were wealthy Greek colonies, which had spread across southern Italy and Sicily and brought with them culture, trade networks, and military traditions. In this competitive environment, Rome had to fight constantly just to survive among stronger neighbors. Rome survived in this environment by adapting. Instead of rejecting outside ideas, the Romans constantly observed their neighbors and adopted whatever techniques proved useful. This willingness to learn from others would become one of Rome's greatest advantages. Over time, this practical mindset allowed Rome to grow stronger with every challenge it faced. One of the earliest reforms came during the reign of Servius Tullius, a Roman king who ruled during the 6th century BCE. Servius reorganized Roman society and required citizens to serve in the military based on their wealth. Those who could afford armor and weapons fought as heavily armed infantry, while poorer citizens served in lighter roles. This system ensured that Rome could quickly raise armies when needed. It also tied military service to citizenship. Defending Rome became a shared responsibility, much like how national defense is considered a civic duty in many modern countries. These reforms helped transform Rome from a small community into a more organized and militarized society. As Rome expanded beyond its city walls, its military system evolved further. Early Roman armies were influenced by Greek warfare, particularly the phalanx formation, where soldiers fought shoulder to shoulder in dense ranks using long spears and shields. While effective on flat ground, the phalanx struggled in the hills and valleys of Italy. Roman commanders soon realized they needed a more flexible system. The rugged terrain of Italy demanded a new approach to battlefield tactics. Their solution was the manipular legion, which divided soldiers into smaller units called maniples. These units could move independently and adjust their formation during battle. Instead of fighting as one rigid block, Roman soldiers could maneuver around obstacles, reinforce weak areas, and respond quickly to enemy movements. In modern terms, it was similar to how coordinated military units operate today, where smaller teams move and support one another across the battlefield. This flexibility made Roman armies far more adaptable than many of their enemies. These innovations were tested during the Samnite Wars, a series of conflicts fought between Rome and the Samnite tribes of central Italy during the 4th and 3rd centuries BCE. The Samnites were fierce mountain warriors who knew the terrain well. Early encounters were difficult for Rome, and the Republic suffered several setbacks. Yet once again, the Romans adopted. They improved their tactics, strengthened their organization, and eventually gained control of most of the Italian peninsula. These victories marked the beginning of Rome's rise as the dominant power in Italy. But just as Rome secured dominance in Italy, a far more powerful rival appeared. This new enemy would soon challenge Rome in one of the most famous conflicts of the ancient world. That rival was Carthage. Located in North Africa, Carthage was one of the wealthiest and most powerful cities in the Mediterranean. It controlled major trade routes and possessed a formidable navy. The rivalry between Rome and Carthage eventually exploded into a series of conflicts known as the Punic Wars. The most dramatic chapter of this rivalry began in 218 BCE, when the Carthaginian commander Hannibal Barca launched one of the boldest military campaigns in history. Hannibal led an army from Spain across the towering Alps mountains and into Italy. Even today, historians consider this an extraordinary feat. Moving thousands of soldiers, horses, and war elephants through freezing mountain passes required remarkable planning and determination. Once Hannibal entered Italy, he began defeating Roman armies repeatedly. His greatest victory came at the Battle of Cannae. Using brilliant tactics, Hannibal allowed Roman troops to push into the center of his formation, while his stronger forces attacked from both sides. Gradually, the Roman army was surrounded. What followed was one of the most devastating defeats in ancient military history. Yet Rome refused to surrender. Instead of confronting Hannibal in another massive battle, Roman leaders adopted a strategy of patience. They avoided direct confrontations and focused on weakening Hannibal's supply lines. At the same time, Roman armies attacked Carthaginian territories in Spain and North Africa. Eventually, the Roman general Scipio Africanus carried the war directly to Carthage itself. In 202 BCE, Scipio defeated Hannibal at the Battle of Zama, ending Carthage's challenge to Roman power. This victory marked a turning point. Rome now emerged as the dominant power in the Western Mediterranean. However, controlling such vast territories required a stronger military system. In the late 2nd century BCE, the Roman general Gaius Marius introduced major reforms. Traditionally, Roman soldiers had been property-owning citizens who served temporarily during wars. Marius opened military service to the landless poor, allowing thousands of new recruits to join the army. Soldiers were now equipped with standardized weapons provided by the state and served longer terms. These reforms transformed the Roman army into a professional fighting force capable of conducting long campaigns far from home. Marius also reorganized the structure of the legions. Instead of smaller maniples, Roman armies were now organized into larger units called cohorts, which improved discipline and battlefield coordination. The Roman legion became one of the most efficient military organizations in the ancient world. However, Rome's growing power also led to political instability. Rival generals began competing for control of the Republic, and a series of civil wars erupted. Eventually, one leader emerged victorious, Octavian, later known as Augustus. In 27 BCE, Augustus became Rome's first emperor and introduced reforms that stabilized the empire. He reduced the army to about 28 permanent legions and ensured that soldiers received regular pay and pensions after retirement. A special military treasury funded these payments, helping maintain loyalty within the ranks. Roman soldiers were not only warriors, they were also builders. During campaigns, they constructed fortified camps, roads, bridges, and siege machines. The famous Roman road network eventually stretched across thousands of miles, connecting cities across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. In many ways, it functioned like the interstate highway system in the United States, allowing troops and supplies to move quickly across vast distances. Rome also developed sophisticated systems of administration and law. Provinces were governed by Roman officials who collected taxes and maintained order. Over time, many conquered peoples were granted Roman citizenship, integrating diverse populations into the empire. By the early 2nd century CE, under Emperor Trajan, the Roman Empire reached its greatest territorial extent. It stretched from Britain in the north to North Africa in the south, and from Spain in the west to Mesopotamia in the east. Tens of millions of people lived under Roman rule, connected by roads, trade networks, and a shared legal system. Rome's rise was not the result of a single battle or one extraordinary leader. It was built through centuries of innovation, discipline, and resilience. Roman commanders constantly studied their enemies, improved their tactics, and adapted to new challenges. Even after the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century CE, Rome's legacy continued to shape the world. Roman law influenced legal systems across Europe and eventually in the United States. Roman engineering inspired roads, bridges, and cities that still influence modern infrastructure today. The story of Rome shows how persistence, organization, and innovation can transform a small city into a global power. If you enjoyed learning about the wars that built Roman Empire, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more documentaries about ancient civilizations, historic battles, and the discoveries that shaped our world.